I came out of retirement after 4 months away from karting and threw myself straight into one of the toughest races of the year, 2025 City of Sydney titles. No warm-ups, no pre-season, just straight into 1700 meters of brutal racing on the biggest track in Australia. To make things even more interesting, I'd never driven this track before, and my only practice, a single 5-minute session before we went straight into qualifying. This is how it went down. This year, the Ultimate Kart Academy sponsored the event. We handed out 5 free memberships to drivers over the weekend. A massive thanks to the organisers, everyone who made this event such a success. But let's talk about my race. We were running tag restricted medium, which is my old class from the past 2 years. I partnered with Chris Bragonje from Platinum Motorsport, driving the Kart Republic X30 Combo. For this event, we are on a brand new tyre compound, the Dunlop DHH, which was recently introduced in New South Wales. The racing format for this event consisted of 1 5-minute practice, a 5-minute qualifying session, 2 5-lap heats, an 8-lap pre-final, and a 10-lap final. On Saturday morning, Derek and we did a track walk. The first impressions was that the track was extremely rough. It was a bumpy surface, tricky corners, and a mix of high speed and technical sections.
You see this stuff, high surface area, high grip. Big shitty stones like this, low grip. So you're gonna have different surfaces there. Oh man, that's gonna be slippery. That's gonna be sticky. So yeah, I guess when you send it in there, the beauty is it's gonna get stickier right at the apex where you're gonna have to park it. It's gonna be interesting. Like I said, I reckon you gotta memorize those dirty corners or the ones that have got a lot of pebbles where people have gone off and it's like a surprise attack. You're not ready for it and you hit it, someone's been off the lap previous. Being a new track, geez, I'd just be on the back of somebody the whole time. Hopefully pick the hot guys in your class and just follow them every lap because try to learn the track as fast as possible and you've got to commit it to memory. So every time you come in, watch your GoPro and analyse what you've done and then just write down 3 things that you could improve on the next session. Or maybe even 2 things, like don't complicate it. Do all the simple things, but do them well. And I think that's the quickest way to learn the track. All right, so we're at a new track and we're trying to learn it as quick as possible. So we've gone for a track walk. That's a bit of a no-brainer. We got some video off one of the great drivers in the category that was here last year. Okay, so that's another box ticked. We've watched the video a couple of times and we've highlighted the passing opportunities, so the high percentage manoeuvres and the low percentage manoeuvres. So we can steer clear of one and aim for the others. And then in the first session, we don't get a lot of practice here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna head out, just warm the tyres up, get the kart hot, send it deep into those passing opportunities to try to find those limits. We're gonna record it on our GoPro so we can go back through that footage. And we're also gonna be following all the hot drivers. So we've only got a few laps, so we're gonna have to do a lot of work in 4 laps and really make it happen. So learning from the drivers that are already here is a bit of a no-brainer. Get behind the fast guy and see where you make up ground or lose ground and then start working on the low-hanging fruit.
I jumped into the kart for my first laps in 4 months, and let's just say karting fitness is a real thing. The first few laps were just complete sensory overload. Braking points, grip levels, cornering lines, it was a lot for my brain to just process and handle the information. But I went out there and I tried to focus on identifying the 3 most critical corners. After practice, we adjusted the steering wheel and pedals for better comfort, bolted on fresh tyres and went straight into qualifying. Because they were a brand new tyre compound, not many people had done a lot of testing on these. We actually went out with around 8 PSI, which for a heavy weight category, like what I was racing in, that's quite low. However, the tyres, they came up to temp quite quickly. With each lap, I was gaining more and more confidence. By the end of qualifying, I managed to park it in P4, second row of the grid. 1.5 second improvement from our first practice session. Look, I was pretty happy overall. Second row start, which meant we were in the hunt for a podium. However, I still had a little bit more time to gain on the leaders.
Okay, so we've just busted our best effort for qualifying. We're in P4. We're closing the distance to the leaders, but we're still reviewing the video. We're going out trackside, watching the best drivers, talking to some of the better drivers. We've got to narrow up a bit of the track over here, open it up over there to try to get quicker runs onto the straights. But so far it's positive. Super stoked with the podium, guys, so thanks heaps for having us down here at the City of Sydney.
Heat 1. It was a rough start. We launched off the line and straight into P3 by turn 1. The front runners, they were battling pretty hard, and I wanted to avoid getting caught in the mess and just focus on my race and getting faster and faster each lap. But then, chaos. Coming into the tight technical section, I actually got rear-ended and sent into my teammate. It was completely unfortunate and I had nowhere to go. But luckily he shoved me off back onto the track and I managed to recover to P6 by the end of the race. Not ideal, but at least we were moving forward. Look, after a solid debrief with Des, we decided not to change the kart setup. Instead, I focused on my driving. We looked at the data on Race Studio and we identified 3 critical corners that I was losing the majority of my time to the leaders. When Heat 2 rolled around, the weather had shifted. It went from bright sunny days to now overcast conditions. We started P4 again and we got up into P3 right off the start, but it just didn't quite have the pace to catch the leaders. Still, a solid finish set us up well for the next day.
Well, that was an epic day. Zach King, talk us through learning the new track. We took a walk this morning. We're talking about a few things. How real was the track walk? Did you learn more from, say, walking the track, watching the other drivers, watching videos? What do you think was the sort of the main driver of the moves forward today?
Good question. I think the track walk definitely helped see like what the surface is like.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't as slippery as I thought it would have been.
Okay.
Yeah, onboard footage is great, but honestly, I don't think it really helped a lot. Like watching like last year's races and stuff with Noah on YouTube. Yeah, you get to see what they're doing, but the track surface is so bumpy and like there's so many little nuances out there. The double left.
Yeah.
Like there's a massive bump as you turn in.
He goes, bang.
Yeah, like right on entry, so you kind of got to be past it. But on YouTube, you're not going to know that. So,
but if you think about it, when we're looking at Zach's data, there was 3 main culprits where he was losing the bulk of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a corner where you had to use the brakes hard on entry to get a good run on the way out. And there's a series of corners, but they're all like full throttle or near enough too. So like a straight section of track, but they, like a lot of corners all linked up, but it's high speed. So there's big gains to be had and big losses to be had too. So when he overcooked it on the way in, because he's learning the track, doesn't know how hard to hit the brakes, new kart, new tyre. Like there's a lot of things for him to pick up quickly. So it's not an easy task. Up to the 800 metre mark, I think it was on the micron data, he was pretty much neck and neck with the leader. But then there was those 3 corners in a row where you had to brake, get the kart in, and then get a really good exit speed and hold that momentum in that next section of track. That's what was costing us. So I've gone around the track and I've filmed everything I can, all our problem corners, which are the 3 corners we could see in the data. We've got the GoPro to review tonight, which we're going to do, and then just try to write out maybe 2 or 3 actionable steps for tomorrow for those problem corners, so problem solution, and then we'll measure the outcomes and see if we can get a little bit closer to those leaders.
Yeah.
After the racing on Saturday was completed, being honest with you all, I was absolutely knackered. The physicalities not only of a super rough and bumpy track, but also being in a kart for the first time in 4 months, I was wrecked. Guys, make sure you do your fitness. That night, Des and I, we went through all the footage, we debriefed, and we set some game plans for finals day. Sunday, the day it all counted. After reviewing data and onboard footage overnight, we had a solid game plan. Starting P5, I got a great launch and moved into P3 by turn 2. Mistake. As we were rolling around for lap 2, I didn't slot in behind the kart ahead, and I got shuffled back to P5. Rookie error. The driver ahead had pace, so I followed closely. A few laps in though, I was starting to catch back up, and I was giving him a few taps. Nothing aggressive, just a little bit of pressure. And then he made a mistake. I got past him, but he wasn't happy about it. What the camera didn't catch was that he intentionally lined up my rear bumper and sent it on me. The impact was so hard, it snapped my rear crash bar bolt. And from that moment, my kart was a complete mess. Every time I turned left, the crash bar scraped the rear tire, creating massive understeer. I was losing over 2 seconds per lap. I was expecting the meatball flag to come out, you know, the black and orange one, but it never came, so I just kept going. I limped the kart home in P4, only to be met with the biggest disappointment of the weekend. I got disqualified for a technical infringement with the crash bar. According to the rules in New South Wales, your kart must come back in the way it goes out. We tried to protest this, we talked with the chief scrutineer and clerk of the course, but the decision was made. We were disqualified. Just like that, all our progress was gone. We were going to be starting the final from dead last. I was disappointed, having put in all this work, finally getting up to pace, only for it to all come crashing down. But hey, that's karting, and karting has a cruel way of teaching you resilience. With this behind me, I was determined to salvage something. So the final, we had 10 laps. My game plan was 1, go full send on the first few laps. I wanted to go out, be aggressive, and make up spots early, because I knew if I could get past the back markers, it might increase my chances of still getting onto the podium. Lights out, we gained 2 positions in the first few corners. We had momentum. Unfortunately, the GoPro died on the formation lap, so there's no footage. But by lap 2, we were up to P5. That's where we stayed. Just didn't have enough pace to reach the front. I was gaining on P4, but I made a mistake and I lost all that hard work.
Reaction videos are king. Hot and sweaty. Could you do another one? Another 20 laps?
Through, but then I made a mistake with like 3 to go. I couldn't hold on to it. Otherwise, I would have been close with Matt again. So that's tougher than an Ipswich final.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So 36 corners is worse than 13?
Any day. You get a short break down the straights, but then it's high speed, so it's big G-force. And then the twisty stuff, some of the corners are really bumpy, so I was just holding on. I tried using my shoulders, but they gave up.
How's the ribs?
Then my forearms. Ribs are good. Just forearms.
Forearms, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is K's really.
Oh, it's
Also too, we're talking about rolling now. We're looking at the data of turn 2, turn 5 last night. How do you reckon you went today?
I made a conscious effort to work on it, and I feel like I definitely wasn't checking up as much in
Yeah.
Light break and just roll through it. And it seemed to work. I think I ironed out a lot of my mistakes from yesterday.
Yeah.
But then at the end it was just strength.
Attrition, yeah.
Yeah, I was just struggling to hold on. I was trying my best, but I was gaining on the guy in front, but I made a mistake through that fast flip-flop. I didn't turn in early enough, then I got sucked out, and then it ruined the next one, ruined the next one.
Yeah. And you just can't drop any time to the guys, can you really?
No, these guys are too good.
Yeah, they don't make a lot of mistakes.
It's hard to keep up.
Especially when they're, you know, pound down race car food like bluey clouds.
So, what did I learn from this weekend? What did I take away? First thing, there is no substitute for experience. You can't expect to be sharp after months off. You got to put in the work. You got to be at the track every single week, putting in the laps if you want to dominate. The second thing I learned is to surround yourself with local experts. It was great having Chris Bragonje and his team at Platinum to be able to give local insights to the track, what lines to take, and how to set up your car. So wherever you're racing, go surround yourself with the local experts to get that insider knowledge. Learn from the guys who race at that track every single weekend. The third thing I learned is always be aggressive on the race start. The first few corners can either make or break your race, and this is held true the more competitive class you race in. I also learned a few things with technical and setup adjustments. The first thing is to experiment with new strategies. When we were racing there, we flipped the tires on the rims, we ran at 8 psi cold pressure, and we adjusted our camber throughout the event. The other important thing I learned is to identify the critical corners. Not every turn matters equally. Master the ones that do. Lastly, camber makes a massive difference. There was a particular corner that I was struggling with where no matter what I did differently, I would always get a little bit of exit oversteer. We actually dialed in more negative camber, and this one small adjustment transformed one of my weakest corners. So, closing thoughts. This weekend, it had its highs and its lows, but I'm proud of the fight. We battled through a new track, a new tire, a controversial DQ, and we still managed to claw back to P5. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Let me know in the comments, what's the worst way you've had a race weekend ruined? And if you want to level up your karting skills, check out the Ultimate Kart Academy. It's the best way to get faster, smarter, and race winning ready. 72% of people who join the Ultimate Kart Academy and apply what's being taught end up on the podium within 3 months of joining. So that could be you. It's an awesome place where you get access to the course content, our private online community with drivers from all over the world, and not to mention our fortnightly group coaching calls where Des jumps on, shares his insights of what's working well and how you can apply it to your driving. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.